Hey there, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Live Album War. Today we've got two special ones from the early 70s. Well, actually, late 60s, early 70s. All right, one recorded and released in 1971. Right, early in the year. It's based on recordings from three historic performances of a band on the rise at the Fillmore East. Of course, Bill Graham's famous Fillmore East. We're talking about the Allman Brothers Band live at Fillmore. Okay, and on the other side of the ring, we've got an actual live album compilation that was not actually released until 1991. However, the recordings are from a couple live albums that were released in the late 60s and early 70s. Okay, I'm talking about the Doors in concert. Okay, both double disc sets. All right, so let's talk about each one here, shall we? So what I have here, because I've purchased many of these like deluxe editions over the years of classic live albums or studio albums, and I love when they kind of take like a classic album and put back in tracks that should have been on it originally, right? So, you know, the original Live at the Fillmore album, or at Fillmore, I should say, at Fillmore East album, contained just a selection of some of the sets, I should say, that the Allman Brothers Band played in March of 1971 at the Fillmore East. And this deluxe edition kind of puts like a bunch of things right back. So the original album kicked off with, of course, Statesboro Blues, which, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm probably mistaken, but I know every time I have ever seen the Allman Brothers Band, and I've seen them a lot, they probably played Statesboro Blues 80% of the time, if not more than that. Always kind of like a track that kind of got things going, especially early on. Then you've got Done Somebody Wrong, okay, an old Elmore James tune, done very well. Stormy Monday by T-Bone Walker, nearly 9 minutes of guitar bliss, from Duane Allman and Dickie Betts. All right. Then you got on side two, the near 20-minute You Don't Love Me, okay, which is basically an excuse for Duane Allman to show off his incredible guitar prowess, one of the greatest guitar players on the planet at the time, who sadly left us all too shortly after this. Then on side three of the LP, you've got Hotlanta, an Allman Brothers original, great tune. Then that's followed up by a 13-minute In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, an instrumental tour de force for the band written by Dickie Betts. Okay, my favorite Allman Brothers song of all time. It's just so perfect in its composition, and this live rendition is probably the best ever, in my opinion. It's just got some blistering solos from Duane and Dickie, great drum work from J-Mo and Butch Trucks. And of course, you got Barry Oakley, and then you got Greg Allman on the Hammond organ. Just a amazing kind of jazz fusion-y tune, right? And then on side four, all right, you've got the 23-minute long Whippin' Post, which, of course, one of their most recognizable tunes. A lot of jams, okay, pretty rockin' tune. It's a Greg Allman original. So what do we got like added to my deluxe edition, you might ask? So if you don't have this, I highly recommend it. But disc one, it's a 2-disc set, 2 CD set. Statesboro Blues, Trouble No More. Okay, got that thrown in. Don't Keep Me Wondering, that's added. All right, Done Somebody Wrong, Stormy Monday, One Way Out. One Way Out is blistering on here. In Memory of Elizabeth Reed, You Don't Love Me, Midnight Rider. That's disc one. Disc two, you got Hotlanta, Whippin' Post, and then 2 additions. The 33-minute version of Mountain Jam, okay, which is a complete mountainous jam, and then finishing it all off with Drunken Hearted Boy. So again, for some of you probably know, the Eat a Peach studio album, which was released after the At Fillmore East album, basically was a collection of brand new songs that the band had written, along with tracks that were not quite finished, because, Duane Allman was killed in a motorcycle accident during the recording of the album. So some tunes were finished without Duane's participation, some were, and the band kind of wanted to flesh it out and make it a double album. So what they did was they took some of the remaining studio tracks from the Fillmore East recordings, threw them onto Eat a Peach. So that's basically kind of what you get on this deluxe edition of At Fillmore East, which, again, a classic live album. heralded by many as one of the greatest live albums of all time. Okay? All right. So over to In Concert. So many of you will remember, for those of you who don't have this, you're probably thinking, but wait a second, wasn't there a couple live albums, one called Alive She Cried and one called Absolutely Live, that were kind of released around that time? And how about, An American Prayer, live at the Hollywood Bowl? All right. All sorts of live releases that came out, right, late 60s, early 70s from the Doors. Well, basically this In Concert takes kind of all that, puts it all together in one double disc set. Okay, so for most people, this should now be your definitive Doors live concert album. Okay, so I remember when this came out in the early 90s, it was a big deal. In fact, both of these albums, this went platinum, all right, as did this, all right. Of course, released 20 years apart. But good to have all those kind of cool live Doors tracks from all those other releases all in one set. So what do we got here across the two discs? You've got Who Do You Love? A great version of that, okay? Kicking things off on disc 1. You got Alabama Song, Whiskey Bar, all right? You got Backdoor Man, Love Hides, a Rampage in 5-1. Love the groove these guys get on stage with the 5-1. Build Me a Woman, a lengthy, near 15-minute version of their epic track When the Music's Over, one of my favorite Doors tunes. Done really well here. Then you got Universal Mind, Petition the Lord with Prayer, Dead Cats, Dead Rats, all right, Break On Through to the Other Side, pretty rockin' version on here. Then you got the lengthy, okay, Jim Morrison creation, Celebration of the Lizard. All the stories about the Lizard King and what have you. He had been working on that for many years. Well, you got to hear it in its live debut, right? Recorded from 1969. Soul Kitchen, a lengthy Soul Kitchen, also recorded in 1969, rounds off disc 1. Over on disc 2, you've got Roadhouse Blues, very lively version of that. You've got Gloria, cover of the Van Morrison classic. I dig it. Light My Fire, okay, nearly 10 minutes long. Nice Robbie Krieger guitar solo in that one. You Make Me Real, Texas Radio and the Big Beat. Love Me Two Times, all right, that's from 1968 in Copenhagen. Little Red Rooster, nice bluesy jam from the boys. Midnight Drive, all right. Close to You, The Unknown Soldier, and of course, finishing it all off, it couldn't be any other song but The End, all 15 minutes plus of it. Some really, really strong performances here. The Doors, going to see the Doors back in the day, from what I've heard, okay? I've read plenty of books, listened to a lot of people talk about the Doors and how amazing they were to see live, just because you never knew what you were going to get. You had this guy, Jim Morrison, who every night could be a different persona, right? Like, which Jim Morrison is going to show up tonight? But I think he doesn't get enough credit for being a really good vocalist and a great lyricist. And I think he's like a storyteller. Okay, that's why they call him the angry poet. A great storyteller who unfortunately, drinking drugs, basically set him off on a path, which we all know how that ended. But I think the Doors also musically were a very strong band. John Densmore, great drummer. Robbie Krieger, very capable guitar player. Okay, Ray Manzarek with those, the electric piano and the organ. Okay, doing all the bass lines too. Very, very, very strong band. Okay, who had that character out in front of the microphone, who was just so compelling. A very unique band, one of the most unique bands of all time. So what do I think when I kind of look at both of these? Well, here's the deal. I'm a big Doors fan. I love the Doors. This, like I said, it has become the ultimate Doors live album. But man, it's Allman Brothers at the Fillmore East, folks. It's kind of hard to beat this, right? This is iconic. And, for anybody who has an interest in guitar playing, in rock guitar playing or blues guitar playing, or maybe plays themselves, whatever, it's like you got to have this as your guitar 101, whether you're just a listener or whether you're an actual player. This album is revered for a reason. it just has some sensational performances. I mean, God, Dwayne Allman and Dickie Betts, like one of the original guitar duos, okay? The twin guitar thing, along with Wishbone Ash and probably a couple other acts at the time. But, how influential is this album and this band? A band who were probably originators of Southern rock before there actually was a thing called Southern rock. And, you listen to the early Allman Brothers stuff, it's basically blues rock, right? With little touches of jazz here or there, maybe a little bit of kind of country, whatever, but it's generally blues, okay? But played with like a progressive mindset, okay? And some great jams on here again, maybe one of the original jam bands, right? So, as really cool as this is like a fifth-round knockout for the Allmans, all right? No offense to the Doors, because I love them. But, man, at Fillmore East, tough to beat. My guess is when we get to the end of our live album war tournament, I have this feeling that this is going to make it all the way to the end or pretty damn close to it. That's just my prediction, all right? And I may be wrong, but this, for me, is one of the top 5 or 10 live albums of all time. There's just no ands, if, or buts about it, right? So make sure you head on over to our Facebook page and vote for these two, okay? If you have a Facebook account and you care to do so, that's where we're going to be keeping tally of all this stuff. But again, if you love the Doors better, that's fine. This show is more about talking about each album and how cool they are. And this is really cool too, because you got some stuff, really cool stuff on here that you're not gonna get on some of the studio albums, which I kind of like. Really cool renditions of tunes, longer versions of tunes. You got the Celebrate, you got the Lizard King on here. There's a lot of fun stuff on here. This is a really compelling album. But man, this takes it. 5th round knockout. But anyway, give us your thoughts and feedback. If the majority of you are also in favor of the Allmans, why do you like that Allman Brothers Band album so much? All right. If you dig the Doors in concert, what do you really love about the Doors album that kind of elevates it for you? All right. So we got more of these coming every day. So stay tuned. We're going to run through so many live albums over the course of the coming weeks, maybe even months. We'll see. I've got a long list, but I figure if we're doing, 2 albums each day, basically covering 2 albums each day, we should be able to get through most of them by sometime in October, I'm thinking. This way we can do the second round of the tournament, get the finalists. So I'm hoping this all gets wrapped up by the end of the year. It should, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube every day. We'll see you guys tomorrow with another edition of Classic Live Album War. Take care.